The jury's been sworn, motions argued. Both sides in the Michael Jackson case will address jurors for the first time on Monday when they deliver opening statements. But today, we bring you a sneak peek of what you can expect to hear from that courtroom just 3 days from now. Two of our guests are here to give mock opening statements in the case of the state of California versus Michael Jackson. For the state, prosecutor with the Connecticut State Attorney's Office, Susan Filan, and for the defense, criminal defense attorney Mercedes Colwin. They each have about 3 minutes. We start with Susan Filan for the people of the state of California.
This case is about a famous, powerful man who sexually molested a cancer-stricken boy from a broken home. Michael Jackson lives in Neverland. In Peter Pan, Neverland is a place where lost boys play all day long with an adult who refuses to ever grow up. In Jackson's Neverland, he plays with the lost boys all day and all night. But what the lost boys don't know is that this Peter Pan is a pedophile. The price of admission to Neverland is sexual molestation, innocence lost, and youth ruined. We will prove to you that Michael Jackson, the great entertainer, is a predator who lured a sick, lost boy into Neverland, slowly groomed him, gained his trust, and then sexually molested him. This victim had cancer. He had lost his spleen, a kidney, and lymph nodes and received extensive chemotherapy. He was as sick as a young boy could be, and while he was lying in his hospital bed near death, he had a few wishes, and one of them was to meet Michael Jackson, the king of pop. A telephone relationship blossomed into an invitation to Neverland. But bad things happened at Neverland. Michael Jackson showed the victim pornography and plied the victim and his brother with alcohol. Almost every night, Jackson served alcohol to a 13-year-old boy who had no spleen, no kidney, and stage 4 cancer, and then sexually molested him. How do we know this? The victim and his brother stayed in Jackson's room, and the victim slept in Jackson's bed with Jackson. The victim's brother saw Jackson put his hand into his brother's underpants and masturbate his brother while masturbating himself. Jackson also rubbed his genital area against the victim's buttock. Usually, in child abuse cases, there are no witnesses. Pedophiles molest in secret, in the dark, where no one can see them. But in this case, there is an eyewitness. Both the victim and his brother will testify in explicit detail how Jackson sexually molested him. And physical evidence corroborates their accounts. The victim's fingerprints and Jackson's fingerprints are on the same pornographic magazine, proving that Jackson showed it to the young boy. After molesting the boy, Jackson took away the victim's soiled underwear, and during a search of Neverland, authorities found the victim's underwear. Michael Jackson tried to cover up what he had done. He tried to keep it a secret, but Jackson's cover-up is consciousness of guilt. After the abuse, he tried to hold the boy and his family hostage at Neverland. He also tried to send the boy and his family to Brazil. But some of the most powerful evidence will come from Michael Jackson himself, as he speaks to you in his own words. In a documentary, he admits that he likes to have young boys sleep with him in his own bed, and he sees nothing wrong with it. After you hear the people's evidence, you will be compelled to find Michael Jackson guilty of preying on a sick, weak young boy. The king of pop is the king of pedophilia. The king of pop is a predator.
Susan Filan. Thanks, Sue. Mercedes Colwin now for the defense.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a simple case, and it's stressed on one solitary word, truth. When you discover the truth, you will conclude that there's only one possible verdict, that Michael Jackson is innocent of all charges. In searching for the truth, I respectfully ask that you focus in on the following evidence. First, the timing of the accusation is suspect. After Michael's documentary aired on February 6, 2003, the Department of Children and Family Services began an exhaustive 2-week investigation. 3 investigators from the department interviewed the accuser, his brother, his sister, and his mother. The evidence will show that they all emphatically denied Michael did anything inappropriate. Never once did the accuser and his family say they were being held against their will. Never once did the accuser say Michael Jackson had abused him or plied him with alcohol. Never once did the accuser's family say, "We need your help. Michael Jackson is victimizing us." Prosecutors want you to believe that the accuser and his family didn't report these allegations because the abuse simply didn't happen then. Well, that's not true, ladies and gentlemen. Look to the first felony complaint. In that first complaint, it says that the abuse occurred between February 7th to March 10th, right in the middle of that intensive investigation by Children and Family Services. This timeline defies logic. And you'll hear that the accuser changed his story. Now, this isn't the first time the accuser and his family changed their stories. In fact, the evidence will show that they have a consistent pattern where the accuser and his family make initial reports and then change it to suit their purposes. A perfect example of this is what happened a few years ago when the family entered into a department store, picked up for shoplifting, and were being interviewed by security guards. Initially, the family said, "We were physically assaulted." Later on, when they brought a complaint, they said, "We were physically and sexually assaulted." Why did they do this? Well, they won a large settlement because of it. There was no evidence of wrongdoing, ladies and gentlemen. The department store said, we're going to contain our costs, we're going to contain our exposure, and we're going to settle this case. In this case, simply like this has occurred here, where Michael Jackson, you'll hear some of the allegations that he settled many years ago. These allegations were never brought to trial. They weren't even brought to the law enforcement officials. They were just bare, conclusory, self-serving allegations. Now, why would the accuser bring these allegations? Look for the next tool. The underlying motivation to bring false accusations is pure and simple avarice. What is shown by this family is once the Michael Jackson gravy train came to an end, after the accuser's request for money was rejected, the allegations that are before you suddenly arose. Now, the prosecutor will try to convince you that the family stay at a plush inn and at Neverland were against their will. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen, when you will see a stream of charges from the accuser's mother, including manicures, pedicures, and massages? Hardly the behavior of someone being held captive. Now, Michael Jackson's generosity is legendary. Michael Jackson has helped thousands of children. His love for children remained undeterred, and you will come to realize he could never harm any child, let alone this one. Finally, the last tool in your search for the truth is the burden of proof. The prosecutor must show that Michael committed these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. If any of you have any doubt based on reason and common sense, you must vote to acquit Michael. When all is done in this case, look to the timeline, the reporting history, underlying motivation, thousands of children that Michael Jackson helped without incident, and hold the prosecutor to their burden, and you will have uncovered the truth that Michael Jackson is innocent of all charges. Thank you.
Mercedes and Susan, great job. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Last time I had to do it, when we did the Peterson closing arguments, I had to do all the work. So you know what? Let's have two pros do it. Thanks a lot, guys.